trying to come up with a this is planned. So the plan This is how you see
Mm-hmm. Good. That's exactly right. That's a step in the ascension process. Oh, we haven't even started yet. Mm-hmm. No, my brain is melting. I've given up on the other forms. Fantastic. All right. Everyone got all their answers?
Yeah.
All right. Everyone's comfortable?
That was wicked. That was a wicked laugh.
Just the smells good. Oh no, I don't like it on top.
Oh, okay, yeah, super hot.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm not going to be your friend today. I just apologize now. Anybody who is dealing with their sugar addiction and is in the closet about it, I hope you come forward today as a person participating in such activities. I will be your sponsor for a short period of time in order to recognize the issues, the family destruction, everything that's happening from your closet habits. And I hope in the end, though, I can actually reach you in a place where you go, oh, that's why I should try to stop this whole process. And I really want you to learn that comfort level that I have with why you just forget this whole concept called sugar and the foods that bring it in and the lifestyle that craves it and everything that's relating here for your health. That's the most important place. So as you start this class, the first way that I get to embarrass every single person here is that I'm going to request that you stand and actually admit whatever the sugar craving item is that's most particular to you. If someone says broccoli, I know you're lying. I know that broccoli's good and you can totally love it, but there's got to be something out there that just kind of plays around inside your body and gives you that thing that happens. And so I'll start just so you can understand. It's not that I'm completely outside or above this equation, but so, sitting, okay, so hi, my name is Joseph, and I absolutely 100% think Reese's peanut butter cups are the most amazing thing on the planet. They're just deadly if you eat them for too long. So that's me, and the idea is obviously we can continue through. So name and what is the big thing for you?
Hi, my name is Cody. My problem is that I like everything too much.
What's the one? No, come on, the one. Like if I accidentally pulled it out of my pocket right here and be like, hey, you want?
Yeah. Shoot, what am I always craving? Bread.
Well, okay, that kind of does.
Okay,
but honey, okay. Honey's not a bad craving. Come on, get dirty.
Pancakes?
Ooh, like Aunt Jemima or something on top of it?
No, she makes homemade pancakes.
Okay, we're getting out of the health category and into the,
It's hard. I try to stay like natural with my sugars as much as possible. No, red vines. I hate
Red
vines.
vines.
Red vines are way better.
All right, sit down. Red vines. I like it. You don't have to stand. He was really awesome for standing. It's going to take forever.
My name is Catherine. I have to say probably Reese's peanut butter.
Reese's.
I do love the chocolate. And I work in the marketplace, so we always have pastries, and it's really hard to make. I like people and
Fantastic. Fantastic.
My name is Lou, and I have to say Hershey's Almond Bars.
Hershey's Almond Bar. Okay, I like it. I like it.
My name's Ed, and the only sweet thing I like is her.
Oh, this is why we bring you, is just to admit great things like that. Now let's be a little honest and participate in the class too.
Well, I don't know. I don't,
Chocolate.
well, we do sugar-free chocolate. One piece of sugar-free chocolate from Seeds.
So 20 years ago, what was your thing?
Well, I play golf 3 times a week, and after golf, I have a beer. There's sugar in beer.
There is sugar in there, yes. But yeah, okay, well, I'll take it. Beer, fantastic.
The only thing I do.
My name's Pam, and mine's Brad.
Bread, yeah, okay.
And white cake and white chocolate.
White cake and white chocolate. Okay, I like it. I like it.
I'm Debbie, and I'm caught running in there.
Yeah.
It's my fault.
It's your fault.
This is my addiction. I'm sorry. I have to have it every day. And I'm so glad she's got the big jar.
The big jar. Right, right. That's usually that good indication. Welcome, Carl. Yep. Fantastic.
Right. My name is Lana. I have to say, I really don't eat anything with sugar, but if I could say anything, it'd be wine.
Wine.
Right?
Mhm. Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll swing back to Angela there and grab you on the on.
Okay, mine would be towards the bread. Dark chocolate brownies.
Dark chocolate brownie. Okay, gotcha. All right. Behind you there.
I am Lisa. I don't put a ton of sugar in there, but I would say chocolate.
Dark chocolate. Favorite brand.
Whatever is the healthiest.
No, we're not doing that. I get that. We're all healthy. We're all here because we're all healthy. All dark chocolate. Gotcha. And moving over there.
Asked me 3 years ago.
My name's Mary, and
Mary.
I like a good Coca-Cola.
Good Coca-Cola. Okay, excellent.
My name's Alan. I try to stay with sugar as well, but I'd say chocolate.
Just chocolates. Mm-hmm.
My name's Patty, and I love the smell of dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate covered almonds. Okay, fantastic.
My name's Paulette, and I don't really eat sugar, but I have to agree with you. My downfall might be wine.
The wines.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
My name is Helena, and I watched Dr. Robert Lustig video, the Zero Sweet Sugar, and Dr. Mercola, and I freaked out. And for a year, I don't really eat sugar. I do like fruit, though.
Fruits.
I
Okay.
eat fruit.
Okay.
It's like 3 pieces a day is a lot of sugar, but I do like it.
Okay.
It's just my weakness.
I'm Marianne, and there's this really good vegan ice cream. The brand is Nonamu, and my favorite flavor is the maple pecan.
Maple pecan ice cream. Okay, I like it. Trisha. Cookies. Particular variety flavors.
It's the best cookies.
She told me.
Homemade chocolate chips. Homemade sandies.
Flour and sugar.
Organic sugars. Okay. Welcome. Hi. Feel free. You just made it just in time to admit what type of sugars you enjoy the most.
Confess.
What kind of sugars we enjoy the most?
What type of sweet treat is your little downfall?
Don't lie.
Right. I don't know. Just an occasional piece of chocolate, maybe?
Just good chocolate.
Yeah, good chocolate.
And
Same. I'm a chocoholic.
chocoholics. Okay. Fantastic. Do we have extra seats? We have to stand here. Okay. Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining.
Thank you.
So the reason we start with this statement is because everybody wants to understand a little bit more on the whys behind why we have this issue, why we are in a craving zone. Everyone here can kind of admit that you can do really well for maybe staying away from sugars. Everyone tries to admit, oh yeah, I never do that. But it doesn't even matter if you never commit to it. The idea is it's there. There's something in here that actually says, ooh, there's a bowl of candies on the front there. I'll just grab one while no one's noticing, and it'll be okay. Even if it is anything to where it's actually negative, the idea is your body is still telling you that there's a reason for going after sugar. So today's class, we're going to understand how to unwrap that process and really get better control on it. A lot of us are muscling through this whole game of trying to stay away from sugar and wasting, or I'm just expending a ton of energy. If we just understood it for a few seconds, we would get down to some nitty-gritty details, and it can actually get to the point where you go, yeah, I like that sugary item, but I don't need it. I don't have to have it. It's not going to bother me. I'm not just going to nibble at it on the corners all the way around until it's all gone and go, how'd that happen? Oh, I just don't even understand. So we really want to move through this process and get into some better biological understanding so you can be in control. You can be empowered. And by doing that, we'll hear some of the reasons why that can affect your health in so many different ways. And what the effects in the long term can be if you start to eliminate it, like most of us people here would love to say, no, I've already repented for my sins. I no longer do sugar. I'm perfectly okay now. We'll really tear this apart a little bit today. So for those of us who are joining, who are new to our classes, every class we start off with a conscious breathing exercise. And our conscious breathing exercise goes pretty simply. It's about 7 seconds of breath in, and then 8 seconds of breath out in order to allow you to fully activate all the muscles in the diaphragm and get your body participating in the breathing process. We'll do that twice, and then we'll actually just have 30 seconds of kind of no me talking, nothing really going on, just to balance everything out, de-stress, and then move in with the rest of the class as we get into some of the other details we're going to talk about today. So if you follow along with me, again, the main thing here is you're wanting to focus on the muscles underneath the stomach. And you're going to want to really bring the breath in as deep as you can and fully expend it all the way out. Coughing's perfectly okay. I understand that. You aren't using these muscles very often, so they might be a little rusty. I love the process of getting people active in this space. So if you'll join with me, 7 seconds of breath in. Nice big full lungs, and then 8 seconds of breath out. All the way down to where technically nothing's left. 7 seconds of breath back in. And 8 seconds of breath out. And then just 30 seconds of breathing comfortably, naturally, and I'll wake you up whenever you're done. Fantastic. All right. So where do I want to begin this time? You can tell the actual papers, if you haven't been to class ever before, very different than what I normally do. So it might be a little shocking right now. And that's because the conversation to have really hinges and pitches on everybody else in here and what they're kind of going through at this particular topic. Because it's a personal thing. I want to lay down some groundwork, and that way you can kind of understand a few of the points and the reasons behind having even this conversation and why we're going to spend the time. And then know that if you come to class on Saturday and go through the workshop about how to get some extra firepower, some more tools built in on understanding your body. You may not be able to fix everything this weekend, but we can at least start making some steps and get into a place where you feel a little bit more comfortable and controlled. So I love the fact that anybody here who is the trivia master when it comes to Trivial Pursuit at their house might have all the answers to question 1. Who here knows the 3 types of sugar found in nature? Who wants to make a little guess? Oh, come on. Hands need to come up. We need some bold people. Let's...
I put fructose, sucrose, and honey.
Okay. So fructose, we'll take fructose, and then anybody else have any of their other guesses?
Sucrose and glucose.
Sucrose, okay. And then you said glucose. I like that. Okay. Anybody else? Lactose. Okay. So there's nice places of understanding this. You guys are doing great at the name game. So it's unique. Anybody else have any other sugar names that they have? Yeah, come on. Name of a sugar found in nature, please. Not the evil ones. Yep, fructose, sucrose, glucose, lactose.
stevia leaf?
Stevia is not a sugar, but
We're thinking of sugars that come from grain, but I'm not too sure which oats it is.
maltose.
Maltose. There
Yep,
you go.
that's another.
Yes.
Really, that's why people are addicted to bread.
Yes.
So that's occurring.
Oh, that's
Correct. Maltodextrin. Right. So I love the fact that you all did come today, class, a little bit prepared. Mine's turned on because those are names of sugars. But it's unique how I want to go a little bit deeper because what you named was a lot of different types of saccharides. And in the world of sugars, and the way that we try to go to a better understanding is that we have something called monosaccharides, where you're mentioning fructose and sucrose and lactose. Those are monosaccharides. They are a single sugar molecule. Then you have a lot of disaccharides. So then you start understanding things like honey. Then you start getting into other places, and we see that there are two sugar molecules placed together. Glucose being the primary monosaccharide we all know about. And then we have all the different polysaccharides, a ton of different ways that sugar can show up, like the wine, like the beer, like what we get from different types of wheats like maltose and a few of these other unique ones. They are complex carbohydrates or sugar molecules that we see built upon each other. So when we really get down to this understanding, this is for a lot of people, I think this is anywhere between 3rd to 5th grade science class, is the idea that you had a Bunsen burner and you took a sugar cube or something and you put it into the flame and you watched it all like burn up and you're like, aha, I can do something with this whole thing. And yet, that's the first place that I want to kind of suspend your reality for 3 seconds. Nowhere found inside your body, no matter what anyone's ever told you, do you ever get in contact with a thing called a calorie. That doesn't exist. You've been completely lied to. If you need to just go throw up a little bit outside, I understand. That was my feeling a few years ago as well too. But there is no such thing as a calorie. When you put the sugar molecules underneath a flame and you see them emulsify up and burn and all those carbons essentially get heated, we see that as what they call the caloric method. And that's not what happens inside our body. Never happens. There's no little burning pit that you can open up and be like, okay, throw the food in there, and then shut the door like a furnace and let it all burn and do its thing. We a lot of times have that image, that picture, and that's where we get confused on what it is about how to eat, how to take care of ourselves, and how to stay healthy. So, like I was saying to Lou, I will not keep you in any suspense. You won't have to wait till Saturday. Do you want to know how it really works?
Yes.
Okay? There's this thing called metabolism. And inside your body, you metabolize things that you eat. Or, if like most of the byproducts and food-like things that are out there, you don't break them down, they turn into toxicities and waste. So that's more common for most people, is actually a lot of toxicity. But it's unique to me to understand this process that you actually metabolize glucose, you metabolize lactose, you metabolize fructose, sucrose. You actually have an enzyme inside your body called amylase. And amylase begins in the mouth, and you have more of it coming out of the pancreas, and it allows you to break down sugar molecules from polysaccharides, down to disaccharides, down to monosaccharides, before you finally get ATP out of them, which is the most important process that you're dealing with. Question?
I break it all down to the acids.
Of course.
Break it down to the hydroxy.
Exactly, and the metabolism goes all the way down to you're trying to tear apart glucose. Who here, better way of saying it, so believes that you actually run on glucose. Anyone kind of buy into that lie, that you need sugar in order to live?
No.
Okay, well, we're in a healthy group of people. That's great. I'm glad you're past that step. A lot of people think, well, I have to have sugar because sugar is energy.
Right.
And that's the mentality that we have towards the understanding we have in life. That if you don't take in sugar, well, then I'll just die. So I have to go back to the different places that I find sugar and bring that into my body. And yet you don't live on a single molecule of sugar at all. It's fuel to throw into the metabolic machine and to break down further and further to get the little pieces and the parts, and you use that for energy and construction of other items. So I love when we finally get to go through this thought process and kind of open ourselves out to maybe, okay, so now what do I do? How do I just always read the back of the label. It says 110 calories, and that means I have to do 45 sit-ups and I have to walk for 25 minutes. Yeah, kind of. When your muscles move, they say, hey, I need more material. I need some fuel. Where can I get some ATP? How can I let my mitochondria actually activate and for them to take in these complex molecules and make them into smaller and smaller ones to give me more energy? So anybody here hit the 2 o'clock wall on a routine basis? 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, that little place here. Everybody here is just fantastically healthy. This is awesome. No one has problems. Close up shop. We're done. You guys, like I say, honesty helps. It's okay. It's okay. I have those days. It's perfectly fine. At 2 o'clock, a lot of times what's happened is the food you brought into your body from last night finally was finished. And if you didn't eat a good solid material that breaks down in 3 to 4 hours when you woke back up to break the fast, then you have no more energy left over unless your body's really good at converting glucagon or finding stored energy somewhere inside the body. Then 2 o'clock crashing a lot of times starts to dissipate. But most people are stuck on the sugar high and low roller coaster, and they just keep feeding this whole concept. Oh, yeah. Done. Of course. He's got nothing left. That's good. That's good. So what I love is that we did start to talk about this and sort of mention it. Because I'm big about getting off the roller coaster. If somebody really enjoys roller coasters, obviously, go right ahead. It's your life. Do what you want to do. Have fun. But I'm really big about the idea of let's get into more control, more understanding, and get out of those really big high and low swings. I really like to let people understand that you do have some options here in the foods you bring in, because you can break apart material better if you have the enzymes for that. If you're a person who actually goes to a place and tries to eat calorie-free, again, you're losing a little bit of understanding on your body and how it works. Calorie-free means non-digestible. That's the knowledge that we have to pull into ourselves. If there's no calories, quote unquote, in there, then that means my body takes none of it in and metabolizes it. That's the only way it works. It's useless. It's plastic. It's the same thing like if you were just taking spoons of sand and eating it, and your body does not do well with that. And yet I want people to understand that's what happens when we go low calorie and we try to find a way to be fat-free, sugar-free, whatever-free. All of this mentality brought us to a point where I think it started the natural and the healthy food movement, but it was a really rudimentary first step. It was definitely one that we should not be sitting on anymore now. We should be moving towards the idea and finding things like alternative sweeteners. Somebody did mention, hey, I really like honey. I really like fruit. These are great sugar sources. There's nothing wrong with them. They actually have a lot of vitamins, a lot of minerals. They have a lot of other side benefits. And the most important piece, they actually get broken down by the human body. That's why taking in molasses or honeys, maple syrup is actually better for you than anything that we can find out there, such as Splenda or aspartame or sucralose or any of these chemical constituents which try to act like food. So, again, that whole beautiful, I like a good can of Coke concept is one of those great places to understand. Most of us actually would, we like that flavor. It was part of our childhood. It's been in there, but we've understood, wait a minute, there's a lot of other stuff going on now that makes that very not healthful. But if you're a person who likes Coca-Cola and you can find Mexican Coke, they still do it with natural sweetener. It's just got organic cane sugar in there. And there's actually other problems with the Coke, but that sugar part, at least your body can break it down. And that's a great first step. If you've got a heavy addiction to one of these sodas, one of those soft drink materials, we can work on it to make steps to kind of undo that process. So I like for people to then say, okay, all the sugar talk making me really hungry. Do you know why? Does anyone here know why? In your brain, you actually want sugar.
So we have the receptors for it.
Receptors is an interesting way of saying it. I like that. At least, you know, you got your homework down.
Are
I
we
like
wired that way?
wired that way is another way that a lot of people like to use excuses. I like it. Yeah, okay, fantastic.
Energy delivery.
Energy delivery, right. We mentioned a whole bunch of really easy to
That's how the
grab
brain
energy
picks up the
systems.
glucose?
No,
No?
no, not true.
Okay.
And it's one of those interesting places that you kind of get tripped up. So do I need sugar? Do I not? What's going on? But you got to understand your body is really trying to make the best it possibly can for you. If you go on a full ketogenic diet, I don't recommend it for more than about a week or two on average, but if you go on a full fat diet, you can do a really good job at balancing the energies of your body. You can go on a pure juice green drink diet for a long time as well too, that has very, very low sugar content to it and still function just fine. It's not that sugar is what the brain runs on. The brain runs on tiny little broken down pieces by the liver, the digestive system, your pancreas, delivered back through the blood up to the brain. The brain doesn't actually eat anything. It absorbs everything. That's its problem. It doesn't eat or create or do anything besides have your neural network there for you. So we really want to understand, in my book, why this gets us into trouble. You have receptor sites inside your brain, inside the neocortex and in the limbic system, that register sugar especially, and fake sugars even more so, as the same thing that we get from cocaine or the opioids. So it's really unique why a person can sit there next to a bowl of M&Ms and go, sounds fantastic. Okay, wait 3 seconds. Okay, fantastic. That's great. Keep going. Yeah. And 25 minutes later, the bowl's empty and you're like, what happened? I didn't mean for that to happen. What automatic processes are going on here that pull me into just doing this over and over again? Bread slices, the same thing. And yet, alcohol's got a kind of double whammy thing here, especially a lot of the beers and things like that, the wines. Clear alcohol, not so much, to be quite honest. I'm going to be the first health coach ever to say, if you got your issues and you need to drink something, the idea is understand it comes from emotional or tired sort of issues and you're just trying to play around with your body anyways. But clear alcohol is actually safer than bottles of beer, bottles of wine, and any type of mixed drink you can imagine that has other stuff added to it. It's safer, it's somewhat healthier, it's still not going to stop your DUI, but the idea is at least it can keep your body healthful. And there's a unique place of understanding there for me to get people out of where you are, because that's my whole job. As a health coach, working with people, integrating this whole thing, I want to take you from where you are right now to someplace over here where things are better. And that's the main process here. I'll meet you in the middle of the road and say, okay, great. Just do a little spritzer, a little bit of lime, fantastic, enjoy your buzz, and then wait until you're ready to deal with emotional issues, because that's a whole big topic out there. But the sugar alcohol thing really gets us, because when we have the two together, now you put your brain into a depressive state from alcohol, and then you've excited all the nerves because they think there's cocaine. How do I now deal with this process that's going on inside my body? And the body a lot of times says, go get a cheese pizza, because that's the solution to just about every time that you're going up too high and down too low, is find some sort of oil that puts you back in the middle. And that craving just is one of those, you're trying to use food as medicine to balance your body. It's really interesting. So does everybody follow a little bit of understanding where we started off? Identification, right? Okay, great. We talked about sugars. We're in this zone right now to where we're saying, why does the body want it? We really want to get to a place where we can finally say, okay, how do I get rid of this process? How do I free myself from this mindlessness sometimes, or at least from the patterns and the general routines? So that's where I love being a solution-oriented person. What does everyone here think is the answer for number 3? What is the single largest illness caused by the ingestion of sugars?
Diabetes. Candida.
What's that?
Candida.
Candida, diabetes,
Heart disease.
heart disease, cancer.
It's not really considered.
I'm not taking the answers because they're not right. Ooh, thank you for showing up to class today. Fantastic. Inflammation. All everybody here gave me was names for inflammation. That's all. It's all inflammation. And sugar as its own place of understanding this. When you, and I don't know if you're a type of crazy person like I am, and you actually have built your own tiny kiln and you've thrown a big, ball of sugar inside the kiln and then looked at the inside of what happens whenever you burn sugar on a routine basis, there's a lot of black sooty carbon left over when you're done burning sugar. So, if we put it in the mouth, and all we need is a couple of the tiny little components that are housed by that sugar, what happens to all the junk that we need to get rid of? That's your inflammation. That's why you suffer from anything. Really, anything. There isn't a thing out there that I can't point to and go, aha! The rudimentary point of inflammation is this. Diabetes is the inflammation of the pancreas. Arthritis is the inflammation of the joints. If you're a person who has any type of cancering of the cells, you're dealing with cellular inflammation. And your body's very cool on how it tries to deal with all of this. So that gives us the impetus to want to find reasons to start to heal and get out of the zone of where we're not understanding our body. And I love being that bridge. So, how do you get this done? It's a step-by-step process, and I don't know any other way to do it. I can take the sugar away from you, lock you up in the back of your house, and only feed you very, very tiny non-sugar containing particulates until you'll find some way to break out and go find some sugar. But if you actually start to develop mindfulness about this and you start to understand the process, well, then the steps start to make a little bit more sense, and you're not fighting yourself in this process. I know Paulette and Helena and Paulette. Right. Both of you had said something about in the last year or so, or I took a year off from sugar. I was scared so much that I said no for a while. And then what happens?
I see a sugar like candy, like I see a cigarette now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That's great.
Like it's bad. It's
Right.
just toxic. It's not.
It's difficult though, like when you're, which I hope you're going to discuss it tonight, is when you're in social situations, which is where I really want my little glass of wine and where I find it difficult. It's almost like it's not even the wine, it's the...
It is.
But the other stuff like the chocolate candy, I have totally given up.
Yeah.
I don't have any
Beautiful.
desire.
Found good reasons to stop doing something that you know has a bad end result.
Right.
That's beautiful. That's the right way to change a habit. That's the way to change behavior on all levels. Because you can willpower yourself for the longest time, and it's not going to hold you up forever. And even, like I say, you could have the best reasons for stopping something. If it's not actually taken away and the sources for the reasons stopped, then you're going to have that concern. So my big thing here of understanding is that social settings, this is why we're here, the holidays. We are in the next crazy 3 sets of months that literally force everybody here. If you didn't even want it, you're going to have a Swiss cake roll, you're going to have a cinnamon roll, you're going to have some type of pie, you're going to have something thrown on you, candied yams, I don't even know. And if, it's great to understand that it's kind of okay. You can actually have a little bit of it. I'll give you permission for a little bit of it. But you got to see it for what it is. You've got to understand the effects of it. And the holidays are so full of this stuff because it is a time of enjoyment. And people want you to enjoy with them. I want you to actually think about this Christmas, this Thanksgiving, this Halloween season being something for you to where you can say to other people, no, I know why that's not a good idea. And be their example even for a little while and actually stand stronger for them than they can stand for themselves, knowing that, yeah, it's hard for you too, but does anyone know the average time it takes for the human body to heal from one glass of 1 4-ounce pour of wine?
Don't tell me.
There's an hour value.
How many?
24. I wish. That'd be awesome. That's just a hangover.
72?
72 is nicer. We're getting there.
Wait, if you had 1 glass of wine.
1 glass of wine.
4 ounce.
4 ounce.
That's very
That's-
little.
That's a short pour.
It's about 118 hours
I'm writing that down.
from one glass.
I'm shocked.
The main reason being is that, again, your body is an interconnected being. You don't just take a glass of wine into the stomach and then once you actually urinate the alcohol of it out, does it have its effect. But when it comes to looking at live cell analysis, when it comes to looking at body level inflammation, things like C-reactive protein and A1C variations, it's about 118 hours for a normal, healthy individual with no other major concerns or contributors to actually not experience what happens inside a cell from one glass of red wine at 4 ounces.
And they tell you that you're supposed to say it's okay to drink.
Of course. Well, and there is health benefits. There's polyphenols in there. There's some resveratrol left. I mean, not much. But that's the whole idea of if I could get you to keep going down the sugar highway, I'm going to get you in all the other ways. So when you see that on a show that says, go ahead, enjoy your wine, your big thing should be like, isn't there a better way to do that? You know, like some protective omega-3s instead? I don't know. Can I preserve my heart without taking in alcohol? It's just an easy answer. And everyone wants to do it, so why not? It definitely creates more clientele for an existing system that loves to take about $3 trillion out of your pocket every single year. Which, by the way, if you thought you were healthy before, it doesn't even matter anymore. You're now paying for everybody else who's not. So this is a group effort that I would love to help support people through to actually get really... So if you're that person this holiday, you can stand in this zone of going, $3 trillion, okay, fine, I'm not going to have to take, and be okay with that for a little while. And it's interesting because more people are actually going to be shocked by what you have to say, that you're going to see exactly how this works for me. And that is all those stages of grief happen. Your friend who loves sugar, the old you, is actually just going to have to die, and you're going to have a funeral, and you're going to have a wake, and you're going to have to spend the time going by their little plot in their front yard where you buried them, because you're going to have to deal with all of these emotions behind actually living sugar-free. And I say that because there's still some ways to get good quality sugar in, but if it takes that many hours to get over a glass of wine, imagine if you're actually eating like that whole big spoonful of whatever it is you enjoy. It's days to weeks until you actually get over an ingestionable bite of pure sugar. And yes, even though you think if you just eat the cake on the inside and not all frosting, you're not really saving yourself all that much. So don't, we have all these little games that we love to play with ourselves. I'm going to chocolate cover my almonds because almonds are healthy, and then that makes the whole thing okay. Or we bring ourselves in, and on the fruit thing even, we're like, okay, you have a desire, though, probably to have fruit. There's a thing inside your head that says, I haven't had fruit today. So what type of fruit am I having? There's a conversation that goes on. That shows that there's that process, that mental thing that's going on. And yes, we get ourselves in so many different ways. The holidays are going to challenge you. And this is that place of seeing how strong you are. I'm really big about treating this like the whole strongman competition, though. The idea is everyone brings in their little sugar whacking mallet, right? And if you're just new to the game, the idea is it's a tiny little, 25 grand hammer. And you're like, no, don't really cut it. You don't really get to overtop yourself this holiday season because you don't really know what you're doing yet. So you're going to say, I'm not going to have the marshmallow covered sweet potatoes. You're going to say it. It's just not going to happen. It's okay. The idea is that after you start to balance this body, the body goes, that's okay, I don't need that one. Well, they brought up the heavy chocolate dessert. And it's okay to actually have them. But I love the whole idea that celebratory foods are something you should not have Monday through Saturday. That's not celebration. That's indulgence. And that's a unique place of understanding that this year, if you've been battling the sugar issues, it's time to think, okay, next year I'm going to strive to actually have a clean 9 months and then a dirty 3 months. I can have the sugar later in the months if I do well the rest of the year, right? That's a decent trade-off. 2 years might go by, and then you go, you know what, I'm actually not going to worry about it all. I'm just going to have the one thing that such and such great aunt always brings to that particular event, and that's what because a lot of people do that. They go, well, I just don't know how long, Thelma's going to be around, so I don't know how long I'm going to have this dessert before me. And this is that place where you go, yeah, it's okay. Go ahead, take it. It's fine. It is one of those where look at it as that meter sense. If you're striking and getting 100% on most of your days, keeping away from sugar and actually keeping it down, then you're going to feel much better. Your body's going to heal. A lot of this toxicity is going to start to break down. You're going to improve the quality of your life. So don't get mad if you can only hit it and it only pops about 10% up off the ground. That's okay. At least it's something. You're trying. You're making some effort. Yes?
What about wine when you cook? Does it take away all the bad stuff?
No. But the thing is this is one of those inherent things that eating food is actually a problem itself, which I can't stop that. We're still needing to consume things. But it is one of those places where, I'm a really awesome like kakavi person. If you've ever had, I love that dish, and that's just one of those things you just can't do it without the wine. But no, there is some ways of understanding that, and it's okay. That's a great dish. Enjoy it. If you take the time to prep it and do it right, phenomenal. But here's the understanding that I want people to go away with. Your immune system is the most important piece of your body to protect. More important than any other aspect of what's going on inside your body. And a single greater than 2 gram bite of anything with sugar to it shuts the immune system down for close to 48 hours and makes it to where antibody cells actually don't recognize invading viruses. They don't take away all of the stuff inside the bacteria that could be overgrowing that's not supposed to be balanced. And then the cycle just persists over and over and over. And that's 2 grams. So again, that's what live blood cell analysis and iridology and things watching a person's body, their chemistry change after a very, very tiny sugar-containing substance. So it's interesting because here's where I love this process. You're here, never really tried to do anything to balance sugar. I'm here saying, okay, come on over to this side where there's some things you can do. If you're finding the opportunities of getting into being more natural, healthy living, if you're not finding some solutions and ways of getting the body to balance, then this is where we're going to struggle for a long time. And that's why it's so hard. We can challenge ourselves for 20 days, for 30 days, for some people a full year until you can actually go right back to old habits, old behaviors, and finding things. What we're going to go over with now is how to finally start to break the connection and decrease the need and start to see how you can get to that point where you're okay, you can skip things, it'll be fine, and that little meter will go up to 20% and then 50%. And you'll start to see yourself conquering most days of being able to stay away from this particular issue. MSM is one of the best balancers for the digestive system that I know of for getting everything in your liver, your gallbladder, and especially then some inflammation off your pancreas to start allowing you to digest food in general better, but alleviating some of the stress and inflammation inside your body. So MSM does something really unique, and that is when you break the MSM down and you have a sulfur ion, you're finally able to grab other food particulates and shove in the right key, the right network in order to bust it open and to get the little bits that you need out of it. So it's the absorption of things like magnesium. It's the absorption of the reasons why you take in calcium and that's where a lot of people, they're suffering from calcium malabsorption. And then they never get in a product that activates their liver or gallbladder, and they wonder why their body can't break it apart. So we go to more and more vitamins, more and more supplements. We try to find solutions to force the body to do something, when until you get to the underlying root cause of why it's not happening in the first place, then you start to see some change occur. And the craving condition here is understanding this whole process. If you're suffering from malnutrition, meaning you're not breaking things apart, then your body has, someone had mentioned we are hardwired. I remember that was somebody said, yeah, Paulette was saying hardwired. You are wired to consume food. That's true. It's just your choices are one of those places where you get a lot of control. Now, if you're not absorbing nutrients very effectively because MSM isn't a part of your life and the liver's not doing its job, then there's a constant craving system that says, go find more food. Go find more food. We need more material in here to be sufficient. So the body sends you out on a craving binge, a snack binge. This is when you find yourself aimlessly opening the fridge door and going, nope, everything I just saw is still in there. And then you go to the pantry, you're like, yeah, okay, maybe one of those, but I'm not really in the mood for that. Okay, it's this whole process where you're constantly searching for nutrients. That's the whole point. And our wired nature a lot of times wants us to find sweet things because it'll give us quick energy. It'll supplant the need for just a little bit of time. And this is where I really have an issue with the 6 meals a day eating strategy program for a lot of people trying to get healthy. Because you're technically telling your brain, yeah, you're right. I just need to be eating all day long because that's going to satisfy all my needs. I'll just eat every time I think about food, and then the thinking about food won't happen, right? That'll solve my problems. Without MSM, and you're not breaking all of the pieces apart, you're not putting them where they need to go. And if that's the case, your body's going to keep sending you on the food mission all the time. And you're going to be trying to find these things. So that unlocks. Now, who here is an MSM user? Fantastic. I love the crowd that I'm in.
I did increase you said last time I was here that I was taking this
teaspoon.
I was taking the tablespoon. And I did feel that uncomfort in the front.
Good.
Not too bad, but it was the
Step 1.
and I felt really good.
Fantastic. What Helena just described is that when you actually start unlocking all of the pieces in not only your digestion, but as you take in sulfur, it helps you finally start to reject and detox material as well too. MSM actually allows for your body to feel all of the gunk that's inside. Fantastic. Come on in, hang out. Like I say, we got more handouts in the back there. It will allow you to see that if you took the white glove and went on the inside of your furnace, it's dirty in there. And if you thought by eating a couple salads and decreasing, some sort of calorie-free living or whatever, you were helping yourself, that's where you missed the boat. So now when you start taking MSM, your body goes, oh yeah, remember that 20 years of stuff that you didn't really fully digest? Yeah, you get to feel that now. And it's a stepwise process to get your body back to a healthy caliber, a healthy condition. So much so that I love the fact that you're telling me that you just went to the tablespoon. Awesome. I know you're an overachiever and you've got that really great type A personality that I love. So, I know, just play along. Just play along. You could be totally the opposite. That's fine. The idea is that sitting here at about 160 to 180 grams of MSM per day, you're just now past the 9-gram mark. So I hope that eventually you can walk to my side of the line, which is somewhere, I don't know, maybe over here.
So then I take something every morning of mine, and it's like a lot.
You're getting there. You're getting there. You can't do it all. Of course, we're going to learn a lot in this whole process. And I've been saying the same things for probably, the last 5 years. I'm glad you're finally paying attention. So that's awesome. Yes.
Why is it that we don't get a sufficient amount of MSM in a normal diet?
Normal diet.
We just eat
So
plenty of
depleted.
plants and fruit.
Right.
So
Why
depleted.
is
So-
it don't get enough?
How old are you?
About to be 30.
About to be 30. Awesome. So 30 years beyond your birth date, there was a thing called DDT that was spread about the entire planet in order to supposedly cut down on different types of pests and insects and things like that were causing problems for farmers. Well, because we have not gone back and shoved probiotic back into the soil or allowed Paul Stamets to finally have his wish, which is to put microbial mats of mushrooms all over the planet, there's no nutrients left. There's no sulfur left, and there's no sulfur-reducing bacteria in the soil to give the sulfur to the plants. So you can eat all the lettuce, all the carrots, all the beets, all the whatever you'd like. And if it's material that's grown in those areas, which is pretty much everywhere in the United States, you're not going to get the sulfur.
And it's glyphosate as well.
And again, there's glyphosate, yes. However, it's like one of those great things that I love knowing is that luckily in South America and Germany, they didn't do so much of that DDT stuff. So you can actually get beets grown in Germany that have like humongous levels of sulfur and have great humicore that's gone into it, huge amounts of desiccated old forest trees going back into the plants. If you're eating food that comes from an active island that has a volcano in the center of it, the volcano's putting the sulfur back up in with all the very dense, rich rocks. And so when you eat things like black wild rice or red volcanic rice or some of these great places, then you can finally get some of that tapped back in. But That means, honestly, either you're going to have to move to an island and eat all your food from there, or be very selective on what you bring in on how it gets. So if you don't have the capabilities of doing that, it's really nice to just put a teaspoon of this in your drink every morning instead of moving to an island, although that sounds fun. So the great place here, yes? We have the hot springs. You can take some sulfur in through it,
You're surrounded by
which helps, yes.
I'm probably the only one that doesn't see that.
Uh-huh.
What is it?
So
What does it stand for?
MSM stands for methylsulfonylmethane. So it's technically a way of saying organic sulfur that's available for the human body. So because sulfur usually has to go through a bacterial process in the soil into a plant for you to be able to absorb it, this is bystepping that by not making you have to eat the dirt, which that's great. So I don't know who here likes to eat dirt. I like to eat dirt, but yeah, eating dirt's good for you, so go ahead and help yourself. The right type of dirt, though. Like I say, potting soil doesn't count. But yes, that's one of those where MSM brings that sulfur ion in for the human body.
Can you explain the
No, it's
difference
dirt.
between dimethyl oxide and methyl sulfide?
Yes, of course. So we have the wonderful Dr. Alana here, so she's going to keep prodding me, and I love that. So there's something out there called DMSO, dimethyl sulfonyl oxide. And DMSO is actually two of the ions surrounding the molecule sulfur, holding it together and allowing it to go into, a lot of times as a solvent, to break apart other things. The sulfur, again, allows for digestion to occur of plastics and paint and things like that. When we use dimethyl sulfonyl oxide on our skin, it helps drive material in through the dermis, in through the pores, and allows for medicine to get through the actual skin system, which your skin's a very porous system, but it's also a very smart system. So a lot of times when we add the sulfur, the skin selectively uptakes whatever's connected to that sulfur. So we'll do CBDs or turmeric or different types of medicinal plants with the dimethyl sulfonyl oxide to drive it in and allow the bloodstream to pick it up and use it. Instead of going through the digestive tract, whereas MSM is one more filtration unit greater than, the dimethyl is actually the methylsulfonylmethane. So this is, again, meant to go through the stomach lining, through the intestines, without causing any kind of damage, any issues. And one of the nice things here is understanding this. Anybody here allergic to either sulfa or any type of particulates like that? That's actually extreme, maybe even generational deficiencies in sulfur inside your body. And your body's trying really hard to pull the sulfa in, and it's not a healthy chemical, and it causes the cells to reach an allergenic point. So much so that you might be anaphylactic to it, and your body will just puff up horrifically. No, not to the I mean, the MSM is designed to not let that happen. If you do see inflammation occurring or any type of swelling, a lot of times it is still detoxing material that your body is still reactive to. So you take MSM and you didn't realize that by not eating organic for all these years, you've been taking in a lot of compounds, then your body's going to feel that. Again, you're going to notice the gunk and you're going to feel it for a little while. But there is a happy place on the end. And you don't have to go crazy like I do. I'm crazy. But I'm glad that you're stepping through and moving over to a zone to where you're making the MSM more functional for you. The more MSM you get, the more sulfur you have, the better your digestion is, the better detoxification you have, and that means your body will not need those cravings to deal with issues.
What would be a mistake? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, so you can go up to a tablespoon a day?
Of course. Slowly, though. And you want to take it in, even at like a half a teaspoon at a time. Because whenever you hit that mark where you feel, especially towards the occipitals or the prefrontal up here in the frontal, that's the detox starting to happen from the particulates in your blood. And a lot of it concentrates up here because your brain goes, no, that's trash. No, that's trash. No. And it's literally just pulling it up here. And then you take the MSM and the body finally goes, oh, great, we can detox that. And it flushes it out. And it just doesn't feel very good when that happens. But your body's trying very hard to help clean you out and do more function for you.
Joseph, can you talk a little bit about if you're on the MSM for like a year, and you're on maintenance, and let's say 2 years,
Right.
3 years,
Uh-huh.
and then so just fry out into 2 tablespoons.
Excellent.
I've been buzzing.
Uh-huh.
I have so much energy.
Yep.
I'm going crazy. And so yeah, I'm taking so much
You'll
now.
hurt yourself.
And so but I got the headache again
Mhm.
a little bit, like for about 10 minutes.
Yep.
So when should I go up again?
If you are like me, the moment you don't have any kind of noticeable pain reaction issues that tell you to stop, then go right ahead. You can totally start taking 5 times that amount. It's just going to hurt a lot longer, and you're not going to enjoy life very well. And most of us can't vacation at Club Med while we're trying to get through our MSM detox. So that's that space of understanding. So when you go up by half a teaspoon or a teaspoon at a time, then you can let the body let a little bit of the pressure off. And then you go up a little bit more, but I like to stay kind of right on that edge of if I do a little too much, I may not be able to move for that entire day. And if I do anything less, I don't feel as energetic and as happy. So it's one of those crazy great things that digestion and increasing metabolism, reducing inflammation, and finally detoxifying helps improve the way your body is. So that's one of these nice relationships here.
Is the stevia inside the MSM an issue versus the sugar that
Nope.
you're talking about?
No, again, do we want to talk about inulin real quick in order to break that apart for everybody so they can feel better? So a lot of people think, oh, I'm taking in things like stevia. So stevia, going to save me from all of the world's issues. Stevia is, again, a plant inulin. It's a type of fiber. And the way it's funny is on our human tongue, it doesn't see it as anything different than a glucose molecule. So what happens in the nerve sensations through your brain is I'm taking my, hopefully like 1 drop. Stevia goes really nasty for me really quickly if it's too much. So it's really interesting. But what it's doing is it's stimulating the nerve fibers in the tongue and saying sweet. And so people who don't like taking their really good medicine, like the MSM, we try to take the edge off just a little bit, so that way you hopefully will go through the process of enjoying it. Eventually, MSM tastes sweet, just to let you know. Whenever you finally fully bring it through your body, it will get to a spot where it'll say to your brain there's actual sweetness. Until it gets there, what it's doing is it's continuously squishing and flushing the liver as much as possible. So it has to reach the tongue as a bitter in order to actually send that signal down to the rest of the body and tonifying the liver. So bitter until it goes sweet means, honestly, you're doing pretty good job. The moment it tastes sweet, what's funny is it's actually starting to work on inflammation inside the pancreas. And that's that unique zone of understanding that now it's, okay, done with cleaning that out. What do you got left? Oh, let's go work here. And I'm sure there's going to be an interesting change as I go through the levels and keep doing it for myself in this way. So very, very unique process there. So let me, on the inulin side, fiber, right? Fiber. So who here has been trusting agave? Raise your hand because I want to smack you.
We're doing what?
No one trusts agave, right? Everyone stays away from agave? Good. That's very good. The Indians of this valley literally say, we know that will kill you. The people who've been extremely poor in past generations, and that was one of their few sugar sources that they could use as food, typically went insane and died. And it's because, again, the agave inulin fiber is not meant for human digestion. It actually will stick on the inside of your digestive system, start sepsis, and eventually break your body down from the inside out. So the only thing you're supposed to make with agave inulin is tequila. Enjoy the tequila as much as you can, but try to keep it to a minimum. Better than wine. That's exactly true. But no raspados, no anejos, nothing with any kind of color, because they're throwing caramel back on top of good alcohol. Keep it blanco. Blanco only. Yes, blanco only. Like I say, I love being a health coach. He says, go ahead and drink a little bit.
Carrots and celery.
Correct.
The minerals and enzymes present
Balance.
help to balance out.
Yeah, but I know diabetics who literally eat a bag of baby carrots and go up to the 300s, and they're like, what happened? I'm being like, no, there's a ton of sugar in there. It's just locked up inside what's the wrapping of a carrot. So celery, same thing. The reason why we like them as snacks, you think you're actually not feeding the sugar monster by going and eating from the vegetable tray, right? Yeah, no. Not only are you doing ranch dip, I know you're doing ranch dip, but you're also eating really, really high sugar containing vegetables, and your brain's really smart at tricking you into doing that. Same thing like, oh, I'm just having a couple cherry tomatoes, right? It pretty much should just be an M&M. So just understand you're not getting away from that sort of game. That's a coaching thing because everybody's different, but there, again, it's one of those where, like Dr. Alana is saying here, it's so important, is a lot of foods try to balance it for us. We get things like camu-camuberry or like lucuma or baobab, like these two fantastic fruits. These are fruits. And yet, what's nice about them is their minerals and the way they break down in the digestive system for the body, they enhance good functionality. So if you're a sugar craving fiend and you'd like to kind of pacify the cravings for a little while, start with one of these products. Use baobab, use lucuma. Photo op. That's all you get. No, you can have these. So baobab and lucuma have a lot of inulin, again, just like stevia. So they recognize sweetness. There is still some berry level of sweetness. There is still some in that. But there's more sugar in carrots than there is in blueberries. So you got to understand this relationship that's inside your body and know where to go to for what we're dealing with. And yes, you don't maybe taste the sugar in that bread. But what happens is when you unload the starch or unload the carbohydrate, it's just a box full of sugar. Later on down the line, 5, 6, 7, 10 hours after digestion, but it's there. And you can see yourself getting tripped up in that condition, and that's why we go after a lot of the breads and why we think those products are okay. French fries, oh yeah, trust me, you are just loving the sugar. You're like, I don't see anything wrong with this. You put ketchup on it, there's the tomato with all the sugar there, and then you eat you're just doing the same exact thing as anybody else out there who's just eating a Hershey bar and thinking life's okay. So, plant inulins help you win the battle because they pacify the brain issue, they help your body heal, they improve the digestive system so you're not allowing candida to overgrow, and that starts winning your battle. So I'm probably the first person, or at least one of the few people who actually tells you that if you're struggling against candida, you'll never win this battle. If you do, you'll die. So understand me on that part, that you cannot antibiotic, diflucan, oregano oil, whatever, destroy candida all the way down to where it's a 0. That's not going to happen. You need candida.
Right.
Candida is a beneficial bacteria when kept under wraps and in check. And it actually helps you break apart sugar. Candida is the best diagnostic tool that I have for knowing that person eats way too much sugar for their body to process. And the candida is the evidence of it. So you can wipe the cookie crumbs away all you want and try to get all the stains off the No. I know as soon as that's the condition or that's the issue that you've got that sugar cravings there. And it's controlling you. Understand, if you're not winning this battle and the holidays are getting you and you're having this concern, it's the candida in there that's literally like, hey, there's some sugar on that side. And it's just making you go and find it anywhere you can possibly find it. And it's more in control of you because you're only about 7 to 10 trillion cells, and they're probably about 50 trillion cells. So they're doing a pretty good job at winning the vote count. If you want to understand how elections work, this is why they're all not functional anymore. So that's how it wins. So if you want to understand something and know that the reason why the macro world out there exactly reflects the inside internal world here, yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. So then the question becomes, how do I win? If you throw in inulins, there's no leftover bits that the actual candida can grow on, so therefore you start winning the battle at battling it back. If you stop taking in just tons of glucose in various forms and you start using more inulins on a routine basis, more fibers, fiber helps win this battle. So you start seeing the body gain a condition to where not only are you going to remove the material outside of the digestive path faster, so things aren't going to stick around and be broken down to sugars even longer. The idea is you're actually going to take in something that when you reduce it down, doesn't have a lot of sugar left over. There's not a lot of byproduct there for it to chew on. And then you can finally win the war against candida by balancing it and understanding, just like Cuba, we just keep them on their island as much as possible. and we let them stay there and enjoy their lives and whichever dictator they want to, that's perfectly fine. But we over here try to do things a little differently, and that's the nice relationship of understanding. You can win the war by actually allowing the system to perfectly function the way it's supposed to, instead of chasing this dream of being Candida free. It's not going to happen. That's just one of those interesting places. So not only do we have Lucuma, we have Baobab, we have rice bran solubles. They start helping you feed the good bacteria, get rid of some of the bad bacteria, and start balancing the election a little bit, so you can say to your body, what do you want right now? You know what? I really like a balanced meal. Okay, great. We can do that. And your holidays will improve a little bit more. The next thing that I want to go over, which I think is very critical in this sort of battle, is when you're looking for energy, and this is the thing that I know everybody who comes to me, I tried that Candida diet, and I lasted 4 days until I just crashed, and I couldn't even keep myself awake. What's going on? Those Candida molecules, those bacteria, are giving you a lot of the building blocks that you need. They're not helping you in the long run. They can be their own health issues. But it's because of most people's avoidance of things like good, healthy oil that actually makes it hard for you to sustain yourself for any amount of time without constantly craving and wanting food to come back into the body. So anybody here come in and grab the Prana coffee on a routine basis, or started doing oil in their coffee or oil in their morning drinks, right? And so satiation for those types of people, how long can you go without food?
A long time.
A long time. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how you're actually like, so what? I actually added something that people told me is very negative, meaning coffee, and I found myself actually not eating as much food. So the reason this being is that your body has the same energetic pathway that it can feed with the breakdown particulates of oils or lipid chains just as much as glucose chains. And that's the nice place to support yourself. Again, now we've activated the liver and the digestive system. That's coming in here. We've started to give different food, sucrose, fiber sources to allow the body to build better bacteria. And now we've added an energy system in to where our body can go a long period of time without needing to eat, because our nutrition is being handled. The pieces are being delivered to us. There's a lot of energy stuck inside and wrapped up one of these little places here. So that's where a gram of sugar gives you 1 calorie. That's the way to understand this relationship. That's where the whole system is based upon sugar. So if you want to understand how that affects you, this, on the other hand, 1 gram of this is actually about 8 to 10 calories. Now, calories don't exist. The reason I say it is it helps you kind of go, oh, okay, more energy. This burns better. If you have a hurricane-style lantern and you've ever poured olive oil in it, you can burn olive oil, because olive oil has good energy to it, and your body can break it down. And the difference here is the smokestack, your system, your lymph system, your blood system, isn't going to get as dirty the cleaner the oil that you put in to burn. So if you throw in diesel, it's going to produce a lot of smoke, a lot of smog, a lot of craziness. If you throw in kerosene, a little less. Gasoline, a little less. If you throw in racing fuel, you get very little particulate, very little byproduct. Rocket fuel, very little byproduct. That actually turns into water, which is pretty awesome when you think about it. But this whole way of understanding energetics, and the people who say, oh, I just can't do that whole no sugar thing. I just crash my energy and I have to work, so I'm going to go back to eating lots of various sources of sugar and feel better. And they kind of lose this battle because they don't have a good foundation or a good source helping themselves. Oh.
I was just going to make a comment about energy and fat cells being that I work with protocol that deals specifically with releasing fat and toxins from the cell. Is that the fat and toxins are lipid soluble, so you have fat in the morning, you just penetrate in the cell and you can gather energy out of the cell. And that's why when you add fat to coffee or any drink in the morning, you have instant energy.
Yep. Your body's pulling it. Helps that mitochondria do its job, which is so important.
So how much, I'm all into this, how much of the coconut oil would you put in?
So, just a coffee?
Well,
Like a mason jar, like I do, because I do like half-gallon batches. You gonna play my game? So a cup of coffee, I would do a tablespoon of oil, and you're gonna see a lot of potential. So that's that nice zone. But for every tablespoon, understand you're going to have about 110, 130 caloric, value to that energy level, which means a couple of hours of time away. Question?
About what you just said. So were you referencing towards your immediate source of energy through fats and sugar?
That's right. You wanna draw the fat from your cells and out of the body.
Don't we naturally go to glucose for ATP though?
Nope.
To fat?
You didn't catch the rest of the class.
That's why I was like excited.
You should just hang out in the back there for about 20, 30 minutes. But no, glucose molecules give us those hydroxyl components in order to build energy systems and allow ATP to function. But to be quite honest, it's the amino acids, it's protein. I had a conversation today that actually just around this whole concept of I'm thought that protein, meat, causes bad things to happen in the body. But it's those building blocks of it, the amino acids, that give you the capability to heal, regenerate, function, build hormones, do everything your body needs. So when you're looking at the idea of health in your paradigm, and that is a green drink in the morning, no carrots, no anything, just green drink, and then a salad for lunch, and the idea is then you go home that evening and you're still missing these components. Amino acids, if they're not present, or if you're using basic foods that way, not taking concentrated pea or rice or whatever plant protein powder, you're missing out. And your body goes, I have to pull this somewhere. So I a lot of times will take people and say, okay, why don't you just add a spoonful of sunflower oil to everything you eat from here on out? And they go, tons of energy. How'd that happen? I didn't even take a B vitamin this morning. What's going on? And it's because you're just trying to get in and allow all those ATP to flow back into the bloodstream. And that's usually coming from inside the cell. Glucose was left way back before it. Even the lipids that you're breaking down to this piece is actually left way outside of the cell. They never go inside the cell at all. Your mitochondria receives the signal, hey, I need some energy, and it actually puts these tiny little intricate pieces together and shoots them out and lets the body take them in back into the bloodstream. So that's where a lot of people's cellular biology systems are kind of a little bit twisted, and we think glucose is an energy source. Yeah, you're right. It's a very dirty energy source, but so isn't fat, so isn't protein. The only thing we really can't do anything with our body is fiber. We're just not built that way. We're not a cow. They have to go through tons of digestion in order to get any energy out of those grasses, and we're not sufficient in that. So it's really unique how the human system actually needs the building blocks. You just got to choose what place your building blocks are coming from. So imagine, and I love this idea. So you could go to a store and you could buy, say, one of these jars, right? If you come to Pia's. Now, Pia's going to be very, very nice, and Pia's going to give you a little brown paper bag to take that home with, right? Cool. But if you order the same thing through Amazon, let's just say they go through Amazon, I don't know if they do or not, how much packaging comes in with what you just bought? Usually it's a box, and then it's got some foam wrapping, and then it's got some styrofoam, maybe it's surrounding that, or bubble wrap or something. Now you have to throw that stuff away. That's the difference between the idea of going for a fat source and for a glucose source.
Just the byproduct away.
Just the byproducts on what's on the outside. All you want is what's in here. That's all. You just want the little pieces. And the least amount of packaging surrounding it, the best you can do for cleaning your body up more efficiently and allowing it to be much healthier. That's awesome.
So there.
And they have maple pumpkin butter.
I knew I was going to learn something. I just didn't know.
So, as we were saying, you are trying to create the best possible system. You're over here. This is burning wood and coal and diesel and things like that, and all the stuff that's left over. Here is finding that there's actually some better sources for really good energy that you can get inside your body, like coconut oil, sunflower oil, that you can actually have good veggies, good fruits, good proteins. again, does anyone here actually still blame their eggs for all their problems? Like, that's why I have a cholesterol issue? No. Eggs are fantastic. They're beautifully wrapped, and in fact, raw, they're even better. Then you get over here where you're actually getting to the next generation stuff, the stuff where we're, bringing superfoods and really high quality material that the leftovers are making it to where your body doesn't have to work so hard to keep you clean, to keep you healthy and happy. And that's the zone that we want to get away from, is moving through the transition process in a much better way. Because here's where I go with this. Our planet, how much sugar do you think our planet produced for the people who want to eat it? This is my problem. How much? Give numbers. Come on, throw it out there. Let's see.
Billions.
Put 100 million.
100 million is a little over. But that's 100 million tons. So if you actually know this, well, see, because you don't keep the database inside your head. Our planet only actually weighs about 90 million tons. So if 100 million or 1 million or 100 million? 100 million of it is just sugar. You're probably right in terms of the spiritual side of it, but no, that's not true. More than the planet. 100,000. Okay. A million. Okay. We're getting close to 100,000. So it is actually about 104,000 tons of sugar. That's beet sugar, cane sugar, everything you can imagine. And I'm even throwing in the guys who are out there producing pounds and pounds and pounds of sucralose, Splenda, aspartame, because it's feeding the beast of inflammation, the biggest disease causer on our planet. That's why I'm upset about that. I don't care, truthfully, that you eat whatever type of sugar. That doesn't bother me at all. It's the fact that it's causing the other issues that we are all completely subjected to. And we feel like, why? Why is this happening? What happened here? So, if that's the amount that everybody is out there saying that we've got a market for, how much do you think the average American eats per person?
60
in
pounds?
60 pounds?
60 pounds? Fun.
30.
30? 100? Getting closer.
Oh, wow.
120s? A little bit more? A little too high?
Oh,
35.
137 is the average pounds of sugar eaten in the United States per person. Now, if you're a non-sugar person, we had a lot of people saying I don't do. That means there's somebody who's 2 times greater than that average that are bringing this stuff into their bodies, and they just don't know that there's an issue. They just don't know that it's causing all of their concerns. And I'm so about the process of, is that a tiny little newborn? Bring him. Can he come in, or is he scared to come in here? If he's scared to come in here, I understand. There's a lot of humans in here. Humans are infected. But this is one of those places to understand. If you're winning your personal battle, great. Do you know what needs to happen? You need to tell other people, hey, start winning your battles. Start, understand this. And it's to that point where I get really annoying at parties. That's why I don't do parties with normal people anymore. Because I'm like, do you know what that's doing? Do you know what that's doing? Do you know what that's doing? And that's just the way I go through the whole situation. So, it can have some issues. I do my own Friendsgiving, and that's where we display a ton of great, healthy options from the turkey down to the sweet potatoes. And we allow for everyone to understand. So this Saturday at the class, I'm going to give away, which I hold it really dear to my heart, but the actual very healthy sweet potato recipe that I've been doing for years now, that I got people to where I'll still sometimes bring the crap one, and then it'll sit there uneaten, and then mine are like, hey, can we have the seconds? Can we come over next week? Are you doing this again? So it's a really delicious recipe. And even on the raw chocolate, hi, that's so awesome. Congratulations. That's so awesome. I'm so scared for you being here though with the new one. Just because we're people and people are, have their problems. So this game that we're playing, I want you to eat good chocolate. I don't mind if you have good alcohol that actually is going for you. The idea is that you're making decisions, you're making choices that in the long run you can go, hey, I'm balancing that. I'm okay with this. If you're doing routine behaviors and you're still feeling issues in your body, then you've got to stop, learn something new to do in order to correct it, and then you'll start to feel much better, more effective, and that to me is the game-changing difference. So I remember what happened to me 8 years ago when I finally said, the reason I probably have daily headaches, constantly not sleeping, tons of indigestion, lots of inflammation, total skin issues, and I was 280 pounds, was because I was doing a lot of really stupid things that I thought were correct. And that's where we got to understand this whole bringing it back process. We got to bring it back. And we have to go to that zone of, if you think a calorie controls your life, you're missing the game. That's just step one. If you think sugar's your enemy, then you're kind of missing the game too. Sugar's not your enemy. Sugar's doing something for you. It's just, are you conscious of what else it's doing? And are you really going to start making better decisions on a routine basis? So knowing this, it's one of those that I hope it helps invigorate this mentality of it's okay to be weird and be the only non-sugar consuming, fiend at the party who can't wait for the cake to be undone. Who's bringing their own, high grade, really good gluten-free carrot cake, applesauce based goodies so that they can share with everybody else and go, yeah, these are pretty good too, huh? Yeah, we can do very wonderful things with our body. We can actually have the best of both worlds. I'm really big in this season right now on the and principle. I want to enjoy things and be healthy. That's a very weird space for a lot of people because they honestly put them in two opposite corners.
Yes.
And they go, well, if I'm going to enjoy tonight, that means I'm going to eat like the other people. And yeah, of course. And you don't have to buy into that. Get strong-willed, get this information, start using that voice for everything you want it to be, and go, no, actually, I'm not going to do that. And when they say, why not? Well, I went to class. I know that these are the problems. This is where I'm trying to benefit myself. You would not expect a person who, has, and again, it's just a great thing to understand, who would expect the alcoholic friend to go, come on, just one more. Yeah, just one. It'll be okay. And I want you to think of yourself like that if you're struggling against the sugar issue and know that that's the place to go. Be like, no. And if you push me, I might not come back. So, let's get real with this and understand. Because I'm in the whole health game, the longevity game, the really, really amazing optimized life game. And that's a very different game than most other people are playing. And it's okay to lose people in this process, to get yourself to be the most important piece. It's okay. It's okay. They might be great friends. You can talk to them on the phone, never have to go over to their house. That's perfectly all right. That way they can't offer you a single cookie. So I hope with what we talked about today that not only are you kind of interested and curious, if you let Pia know about the class on Saturday, we'll bring everybody back in here. We'll be doing a couple demonstration items, allowing for people to go away, really trying to get that whole beautiful chocolate relationship to start being a healthy one, and understand that you can do good things for yourself in order to actually get what you want and be healthy too. And it's all just steps in the process. It's all just movement from where you are now into a place where you can kind of see things change into a very different version of yourself and enjoy both and be happy. Because like I say, the person, and this is the way I love this, the person who lived like you did before survived until the point where you were able to make a change. Now that you're able to make some changes, you can actually live a little bit differently and be much happier about it. And that's one of those where we have to not beat ourselves up or tear ourselves down for old, soda habits or chocolate habits or Reese's peanut butter cup habits. Like I say, what I have found is Roots does a fantastic job at putting almond cups together with little dark chocolate little packages. It's so delicious. So you can eat something that actually fills you up on both sides to where you can feel the joy and get the benefit from keeping it very mindful and functional. So I'd love for there to be any questions, any kind of concerns, any understanding to go deeper for anybody to still be on the recording, and then we can go through a few questions if everyone's happy and understand what the next steps are.
If it was bread, I guess I got cooking and stuff and everything. Is bread supposed to be no or just?
Well, most bread is made with highly contaminated pesticide, insecticide, fungicide, larvicide material that we then put a bunch of seasoning on top of and call it food. So normal bread, no. But you can find very good organic varieties that you at least can enjoy. We can make our own bread material, bread crumbs, or stuffing mixes this way. There are actually ways to do stuffings that are more based on different types of veggies as well too, and that can be just as delicious going into a turkey if that's what you're doing. But it is one of those places where you got to play around with this a little bit. It's a game changer. The cassava flour is a great flour source that you can make just about any baked good from, and then season it the way you'd like to, and try to see how that integrates with your system. So yes, stuffing can be a problem if it's from a normal. Yeah, you have a good recipe for that. Awesome.
All Thanksgiving recipes.
Woohoo!
Yes.
That's going to be phenomenal. So stuffing can create an issue, and the bread products need to be looked at. Anybody here gluten-free is a system for trying to get your body to stay away from glyphosate. So glyphosate is this compound that they've put into the plant that if you eat anything that's a GMO food, you're getting it into your body and it's destroying and killing you very, very slowly. So this is a major contributor to that. So that's why it's tough to say, go ahead and have a little bit of bread, you'll be all right. I'm starting to believe that that's not the case at all anymore. You can have an issue.
Unless it's sourdough, right? Started from starter.
Depends on where they're getting their original wheat from, though, still.
Is inflammatory as well?
It can be. It can be. But that's where you got to understand how this works. Apples have gluten. Oatmeal has gluten. Wheat has gluten. Edamame beans have gluten. Gluten is technically just another way of saying interlocking peptide bonds that actually allow for something to stay solid. Otherwise, it would just turn to gel. And that's where there's gluten in everything. It's just our bodies have become recognizing of a state that wheat gluten especially has a ton of particulates that go along with it that destroy our system. And our body's very smart. So it says, don't do that. So much so to the point that you'll get IBS, IBD, GERD, heartburn, major inflammatory, headaches, vertigo, cancer, lots of other stuff to try to get you to stay away from bad things. And that's where we're trying to recognize that. But yes, anybody out there who's ever said that this is the problem, like if you just stay away from this, doesn't understand health in the long run game of you can cut gluten out all you want, and that's not going to fix everything else inside the human body. So we love to have scapegoats. It's great to pin up a poster of something on the wall going, yes, no more gluten, and then still doing a lot of things that aren't really helpful for ourselves. So that's an interesting piece in there. Question in the back.
I'm from the southeast coast of New York.
Oh, fantastic.
Brother, right on the money. Another thing is, I just finished doing a month of research on addiction.
Oh.
And I was going to use sugar, just to make it simple there. What I found out was that your reaction to things like prescription pain opioids, fentanyl, and heroin, when you put them on a chart, sugar does the
exact same thing.
And so they were showing us the neurons, how they hop and how they talk to each other. And you wouldn't believe the hop sugar had. So a lot of us go to paper to try to help people and say, let's take care of the withdrawal symptoms first.
Yep.
Just like we found out that you have to use sugar, we didn't know it.
Yep.
So some healers like you are taking the approach of let's treat sugar like somebody who gets on here.
Exactly right.
There's a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
It's really
and it's really tough for the heroin people as well too, because all they have is increase in morphine receptors, and the morphine's what we get from wheat. That's why wheat's a double whammy on a lot of this. So. Yeah.
They don't understand either. And don't beat yourself up either, because I'm a diabetic. And I'm a empty messenger. I go through lots of different things. I know I should not. And that is also attached to.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Me jumping into it because
You see
that's good. I can imagine being a woman and then not having the nurture to take care of somebody. And then about the kids.
So can you
Yeah.
some examples of what we can eat if they like just to
Do you know that meeting that we're supposed to have?
yeah.
Yeah, we'll go over that. No, it's one of those places where it's most important to come away from this class and realize nothing on any of these shelves or any shelf you can imagine is actually the problem. If you think it's out there, you're missing. You're missing the point. It's in here. Like the gentleman was saying, the idea is we're fighting addictions, and when it comes to balancing the body, this is that place of understanding yourself. So a lot of
I mean, I want to talk a little bit about balancing the body, but I want to be clear.
No, go right ahead. Yeah.
I wanted to talk about there are some ways to help sugar cravings and the addictions and activating some of the body's own neurotransmitters, and I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Create some space to see about the body, you know. It's got some products here.
Right.
Cannabinoids especially.
Yeah.
Really help curb the sugar cravings, the alcohol cravings, because they're activating neurotransmitters in the body naturally, anandamide and 2-arachidonylglycerol, and this helps the body feel happy and content. Well, there you go.
So
yeah.
what Alana's getting into is the idea of the research we've been working on is a lot of there's a tincture and a salve here. So both of these, if you guys want to just pass around and understand what's going on, try not to open them. You can open the salve and smell if you prefer. But these are the CBD products that we'll now be carrying at my office and understanding how to start balancing the human body much more effectively. So what we were talking about there on the brain system is that, yes, you're suffering from a ton of receptor sites that say, if you don't give me what I want, then I'm going to have a fit. And it's unique. So you can smell it. Like I say, you can smell those. It's fine. But when you reprogram the body with something like a CBD compound, this is opening up the CB1 receptor sites and allowing your nervous system to realize I can be more stable. I can actually enjoy life much more functional. They're natural anti-inflammatories, so they're beating back the major concern here inside the human body from the previous habits and behaviors. And they've been enhanced by different terpene molecules in order to assist if your major issue is in the digestive cavity, if it's in the nervous function, if it's in the thyroid gland, if it's in the adrenal complex, and that's where your major concerns are, then we can not only do a custom blend and actually get one designed perfectly for you, but we have the ability of starting with this protocol and getting it to where a low THC next to zero THC, high CBD strains allow for the benefits of the human body without a lot of the sort of byproducts and the psychoactives and things of that nature. Because we do a cold extraction, it doesn't even have that potential for being effective to what people normally think about when it comes to CBD oil from cannabis plants and things of that nature. So we've got a lot going on.
Also, because it's a full spectrum cannabinoid, meaning it has cannabidiol, cannabidiol that attaches itself to the receptor sites in the intestine and starts to eat up fungus right away.
Yep.
So it starts to eat up the fungus, and then your sugar cravings go down.
Go down.
Fungus
Yep.
is driving wanting the sugar back in it, so it works very effectively.
And it's such an intrinsic piece of our human body.
Yeah.
My mother just started taking cannabis oil. She has cancer, and I just was hoping that you could tell us the difference between the two plants, because obviously this is a hemp derivative, right? No, this doesn't come from hemp oil. So this is coming from the cannabis plant. Oh, okay. I thought the CBD oil was from hemp. Okay, so could you explain that? Because I kind of read into it.
You should have come to my class on Saturday.
It's just confusing.
We have a class.
Like, there's obviously when we start doing research online, there's so much contradictory information. So you go one source and it's
I will give myself a little bit of credit here. I'm standing in the shadow of an expert, but let me just break some of this down and see if I can and feel free, because this is beautiful.
Because we're just now starting to.
There are
like
technically CBDs in most plants. That's one of this interesting places of trying to understand why we think of things like turmeric and lavender and pepper and all these crazy cool herbals that we get essential oils from, and we call them powerful medicines, right? Well, the way they speak to the human body is actually these particular compounds, and CBD happens to be just one of those essential oil products that we see. Now, CBDs also occur very extensively inside breast milk, and we have our own endocannabinoid system that we produce our own CBDs that actually go and flush the body when you're happy, when you finally achieve something pretty important and you get to that point of excitement. We have all these great things inside our body that our body's trying to get back to understand. And so the relationship there is one that when you start taking CBD products, when you're using hemp-derived seed, especially hemp CBD from hemp seeds, you're really getting just this one little window of one of the particular compounds. And most products out there, heat, alcohol, or water extract their CBDs, and they're missing the whole functionality behind the plant. So when it comes to anti-inflammatory, anti-tumor, anti-convulsives, provascular distributions, lymph detoxification, cellular detoxification, activating the human body, hemp has one particular type, and it's found because it's the hemp plant. They are in the same family as cannabis, and that's one of those nice ways of understanding that there's the similar styles of medicine. But there's a full spectrum, 7 or is it 6 or 7 of the actual CBD-like compounds.
Oh, the cannabinoids?
For the actual cannabinoids.
There's hundreds of them.
Oh, there, but the ones that we know.
We're looking at about 10.
10.
Right. And so the predominant cannabinoids are
THC and CBD.
But there's some other ones like chromium and vitriol that are human after, and they have some great medicinal properties to them. And when you think about the cannabinoids, well, they go further. What are the These are the
terpene molecules, yeah.
If they're not something that I sell, but some products sell these don't have functions. It's called compounds. And they're the basic monoterpenes, isoprene units that all plant resins are made of.
Right. So the reason why you take lavender in your body and you're like, I feel calm, is a compound called limonol. And it's there to help balance the vascular system, the adrenal glands, get you to finally have better limbic processing, so it helps for focus and concentration. And then we see things that come away from like the black pepper, which is beta-caryophyllene. That's just this thing that's really good for the digestive system, for lymph flushing, for moving the circulatory system and allowing the body to go back to good function. So critical.
That beta-caryophyllene itself is actually a cannabinoid that actually binds to the receptor sites of the body.
It actually does the linking? Wow, that's very cool. Yeah, I mean, we're learning stuff all the time, and you're right, people are finally becoming okay with this. But really, what's sad is that 100 years ago, this was actually a normal medicine system, and everybody totally got with it until late 60s, early 70s. We put out the whole, war against marijuana, which is actually tobacco. Has nothing to do with plants like cannabis or hemp, and understanding that whole. We gave a different name for a particular type of tobacco grown in Mexico, and we said that's the same thing, and we married the two in a marketing campaign to destroy.
I remember when they signed the bill, it said marijuana.
Yep.
And they didn't even know that marijuana and cannabis were the same thing.
Exactly.
Because marijuana is just a slang term.
Marijuana, yeah, it's a completely different plant. And it's one of those where it's just a sad place where the growing of it in Mexico is going to supplant the paper industry here in the United States.
Yeah,
and we said no, we're not going to buy in it. We are now to a point where, legally speaking, this is something that we now have shelf available. So CBDs from hemp-derived have been okay up until now, and now low THC products, that especially when they're cold activated and brought out through a passive system, they're able to be used like any other form of plant medicine, just like the essential oils you have behind you, the superfoods you have around you, all these other materials, they're now on the books for being available.
They're super bioactive because it's talking to your cells. And the beauty of the cannabinoids is that it activates the signaling in the body. So now your cells all talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's homeostasis. You can use it in so many ways.
Yeah.
It just goes on and on.
On your skin, a couple of tinctures. Like again, we are treating, and we can't say really too much from this perspective here as we are today. The idea is that it helps with inflammation. It helps spur on digestion, circulation, and the immune system. Whatever it does for the individual, as you start to incorporate that for your body, that's where things can go. We really are in pilot study programs right now, just beginning first round testing, which it's great that the gloves are kind of coming off and we're able to start looking at this and really go deep into the next stages, the next steps, in order to say, like, now there's a chance, because we're using plant therapy information, all these phytocannabinoids, we even have ways of redoing bioidentical hormones formulas to give it to where we have phytoprogesterone, plant source progesterone, that's again much healthier for the human body than most people who are taking bioidenticals or are on birth control or on some other place and getting exogenous progesterone. You can start using a plant system for rehabilitation. So when it comes to menopause conditions, really terrible, painful menses, anything like that, we can start getting the body back to a better level of health. And yep, oh yeah. So it's such an intricate piece in this whole process, but it's helping you win the battle against inflammation. That's the first and foremost. And that's why talking about it today, it's really amazing how if we know that that's that critical root core cause, then we've got to start loading up the material so we can get away from inflammation inside the human body.
I guess for me today it was all about sugar.
Correct.
Right. So we reduce inflammation in the body, and then reduce the culprits that are wanting us to take in more sugar. And
everything starts getting better. It's all, and again, it's not about you throw away the furnace like we talked about. The idea is you clean it from the inside out. You get it all squeaky inside there, and then you only throw good fuel back inside and deal with it as it comes. And detoxifying routinely, allowing your cells to actually become healthful, and allowing your body to start to go against any of the issues where we've seen it come into our bodies up until now. The idea is you invite the problem by being peer pressured even sometimes to partaking into the things you know aren't good for you. And that's where this holiday, I really do hope that there's some victories. You guys send this back to me, emails, text message, whatever, where you're like, I went to this place and they had like a fondue pot, and I said, that's ridiculous. And I actually, whatever it is for yourself, it's so important to kind of, be congratulatory for this. This is a war, it's a battle, and you want to say, good times for going through this. And it doesn't stop the party. I'm not a person who drinks. So the thing is that a lot of people tell me, oh, well, I can't really socialize well if I don't have alcohol. I'm like, well, then what do I do? I'm like, how? Really? I'm like, oh, you're lying to yourself. Okay, I got you. Totally. I'm okay with that. And until we finally say I want something different. And then we get into a better relationship, a better handling of ourselves. And like I say, a lot of times putting alcohol down is what activates the throat vortex, the throat chakra, and gets you to be a little more talkative. But that's just because of something you believe from when you were 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 or something like that, that you're not smart or you're not good enough or whatever those little, you can totally go through those types of problems and be on the other side. The Wellness Center at Optimal Wellness, full of mind, body, emotion, spiritual advancements in all the different areas, because I want people to live really, really well. Optimum life. That's the most important game here. So thank you so much. Like I say, we'll cut this in. If there's any kind of questions or follow-ups, we'll go through. Anybody has personal things you want to find out more about the CBD products or anything else about Optimal Wellness, or scheduling with me, then we can actually do that whole process and go through that for the rest of the night. But yes, the class on Saturday, great recipes, really good idea. Pay Pia if you can. Like I say, cash is the only system right now I think we have. The class will go from 11 to 1. Yes. So fantastic. Thank you so much. Just give me 1 second.